You're listening to Served Up, a podcast that features inspiring beverage professionals and topic experts that share their passions through meaningful conversations. I'm your host, Bridget Albert, also known as the Market Fresh Mixologist, an industry mentor with decades of experience. Grab a cocktail and sit back. Let's learn how we can make a positive impact in our industry. Hey y'all, it's Bridget here. In this lively and heartwarming interview with the founders of Sunshine Punch, Matt Hemmings and Brian Thomason, we explore how their passion for music and the joy of shared moments around a fire pit led to the creation of their signature orange cream beverage. These guys share a story of how, as friends, they would often gather around a fire to jam, unwind, and sip on a homemade blend of flavors that soon became their go-to drink for good times. What started as fun, spontaneous creation among friends soon blossomed into a full-fledged, successful brand. As they reflect on the evolution of Sunshine Punch, they then highlight how the spirit of collaboration, the energy of their musical roots, and a deep appreciation for community and authenticity have shaped every aspect of Sunshine Punch. From jam sessions to creation of brand, they share how a passion that they share helped them craft not just a drink, but an experience that resonates deeply with others. This interview is a celebration of creativity, camaraderie, and how following your passions can lead to something truly special. So sit back, relax, grab yourself some yummy Sunshine Punch, and enjoy the show. Brian and Matt, welcome to Served Up. I'm really excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
Wonderful. Brian, I'm going to start it off with you. Can you tell our listeners a bit about who you are? What's your background? Where do you live? What is your story and what brought you into the beverage space?
Oh my gosh. That is an interesting one. Well, I like to jokingly tell people that I am a recovering finance guy. I am a absolute Excel spread head at heart. So I spent most of my career in mergers and acquisitions finance, had a chance to start a software company with a bunch of cool nerds out in Bend, Oregon. And we got very fortunate and sold that thing right before COVID. And during COVID, I was just playing guitar and surfing and hanging out. And patent attorney called me up and said, "Hey, I've got an opportunity for you to buy a whiskey distillery in Montana. Are you interested?" And I said, "Absolutely. Like, who says no to that?" And so got into the alcohol space just kind of on a whim and fell in love with it. Like it was like the lights came on. It's like, aha, this is where I was supposed to be. And I kind of cut my teeth in the space on that whiskey brand, and it got my brain turning about how we could do things in another brand. And that kind of coincided perfectly with a very fortuitous lunch meeting that Matt and I had about a year later. Matt, you want to take that from there?
Yeah, that's it. We've known each other since the dorms as a story with us. So that's where the friendship started. And there was always a really interesting circle of influences and friends and business partners along that journey over a couple decades. And Brian grabbed me. I think he had heard that I was nearing a crossroads in sales and marketing. I was always in retail. I sold to big box, Home Depot, Lowe's, and developed kind of my career that way. But before that, I was always in culinary. And so just a mutt as far as jumping from thing to thing of where your career takes you. And he said, I hear you're coming to maybe a turning point. And I said, yeah. And simultaneously, there had been this beverage in our circles that we passed around across guitars and campfires And it had always been there, and it always had a lot of energy and broad appeal. And Brian said, I got a vantage point to this space. Do you want to take a run at commercializing this thing that we have that everybody loves? It's sunny, it's fun. And we didn't know what we had. We didn't know what we didn't know, but we had this meeting and we decided to embark on that adventure. And when was that, Brian? Was that 20
or late 22 maybe?
Late 21, and then 22 was planning, and then 23 was launch. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's worth, because we got all these cool guitars in the backgrounds of your pictures. It's worth kind of just telling a little bit deeper about really, Matt and I are best friends. Like we have literally known each other since we were 18, 19-year-old knuckleheads running around the dorms at UNC Charlotte. Matt formed a band with my best friend from high school, and I like to tell people that I was in the band, but they basically just gave me a soundboard and said, go figure this thing out. So whenever Matt says we've had this thing in our circles around guitars and campfires, that band started going on this annual camping trip up in the mountains of North Carolina. This product, a mutual friend of ours created it in his kitchen, and everybody knew, and before Matt would come to this camp out, everybody knew that Matt was going to bring a jar of this stuff that we can't get anywhere else. And it was literally one of those things where the lid was unscrewed and tossed in the trash can, and the jar was passed around until it was gone. I mean, and so whenever we say things like sessionable and making memory with friends, that's authentic with this brand, because that's really where it came from. And it was something that was ours. It wasn't commercialized. It was something that we enjoyed amongst friends and we made memories around. And whenever we had a chance to really build a brand around this idea and this product, that's really the heart of it. It's about friends, and it's about the sessions of friends making memories, if that makes sense.
Yes, it really does. And before we jump into the brand, into Sunshine Punch, I want to flip it back over to Matt for a minute. Can you talk more about the band itself? Like, what was the band's name? What kind of music were you playing? Let's talk about it.
All right, let's talk about it.
Where'd your passion for music come from?
Yeah. So my history and everything that I still like to do, and I can tell you if I'm in well-balanced position or not, is how much I cook and how much I play music. So that's kind of what keeps me centered. And I think that we had a small collective back in college and beyond that was a little bit of everything, bit of a musical study. It was definitely a rock band, a little bit, on the jam side of things. The interesting piece that we normally don't bring up, but kind of getting into the fun conversation, is the coolest thing about our band is that we were surrounded by all these super creative, fun, interesting people. And then we've watched a few of them go on in their own right to great successes, whether it was music, business, or beyond. So he when you tell the story originally, you're like, all right, you're sitting at a campsite and, oh, this is like some old college guys sitting around. But it was more than that. That collaboration, inspiration stuck through the decades, where you got to grow up with everybody with the creativity and becoming mature adults as well. So let's see. I played bass and sang and wrote at the time. We were a 5-piece, sometimes 6. We toured around in the Southeast a little bit. And then it sprung up a couple other projects, including our dear friend Bob, who went and moved from playing guitar into playing bass. So we always had that in the inspirational circles. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think, having a creative spirit, it's one thing, having the business mind, which is so important when you're starting a brand. It's so important. It seems like you have that nice balance of both. For a gal that doesn't believe in the word balance, but I do believe like you have kind of the best of the both worlds, it seems. You've got you have that creative between the both of you, and then you also have the business, which you need to have a business mind when you're starting a brand. And so I'd like to maybe flip it back over to Brian and talk about that. Can you give some words of wisdom to those who are, listening to your story for the first time? and are maybe interested in starting something on their own. Maybe they have that entrepreneurial spirit. What advice, Brian, would you have for that person?
I will tell you the things that we've learned the hard way. And it's funny you asked that question, because I've had these conversations with folks in the industry recently that are interested in doing it. I would say the first thing is that your distributor is your best friend, but you need to understand that you need to support your distributor and you need to be out on the street yourself. I've said this numerous times. I've said it on stage, but I've said it in private conversations. You cannot go hire the best distributor in the world and then sit by the mailbox waiting for the checks to come in. Where I've seen this work the best is where you partner up with that distributor, give them the things that they need in market, and then you also get behind it and roll up your sleeves and get in the market with them. You've got to have boots on the ground. And if that is the number one rule, the number two rule that is closely tied behind that is there's an age-old question in this industry about wide versus deep. Let me be very clear. The answer is deep. Pick a market or two and be amazing in that market. And before you start spreading yourself into another market, take care of that market, take care of two markets, spread out from there. There's a trap that people that start up in this space tend to fall into. Is like, oh my gosh, if I put pins on the map, I'm big and I'm attractive. You don't get a prize for going wide. You get a prize for going deep and saturating and get on shelves, but then more importantly, get velocity off shelves. And I would say those are the two biggest things that we've learned. I would also say that there's two sides of this business. There is the getting on the shelf side of it. You get a good distributor and they will get you on the shelves. We have had amazing success with Southern Glacier on getting on the shelves. The other side of it is the pulling off the shelf. And you really need to look at those things as two different pieces of you have to have a strategy for each of those respectively. Mm-hmm. And I don't think enough startups in this space focus on telling their story. And at the end of the day, that's what building a brand is. It's telling the consumer your story. And so those are the three things that I would say. Matt, what would you add to that?
No, that was perfect. I think the other piece is to have a little bit of patience and let the game develop a bit. There's such a sense of urgency, especially if you get some early attention, and you want to run while you're only new once, right? You want to run and you want to capture everything in every direction. But what you forget is that, there's the business side of it and there's the trade facing, but the natural consumer adoption, it takes time and it takes persistence. So sometimes you just feel like you want to run so fast, to Brian's point, that you forget that, all right, relax a little bit. Here's all the good things that are happening. Now let's pick those proof points and let's really develop those things and grow those. Yeah.
I'll add, another element to that. Whenever you enter a market, and this isn't meant to be preaching. I'm very passionate about this because it's taken us a while to see the blueprint. When you enter a market, go out and find your core customer and identify those, because I don't care what the product is, there is a core customer out there. And you may have aspirations of having regular routine depletions of 250 cases a month. Take your time and market to market, go find that core customer. And I don't care if that core customer is 50 cases a month in North Carolina and 15 in South Carolina. Go find that core that you can, it's a floor foundational depletion stream, and it's repeatable each month. And then start taking that 50 to 65, and then take that 65 to 70. But find your core first. And don't get disappointed if it's lower than you think, because with that foundation, you can then spread from it. And that's something that took us about 2 years to figure out the real magic. And I'd say state to state, we're still figuring that out now. But that's really should be your blueprint about entering any new market.
That's some really good advice, gentlemen. Thank you so much, Matt. I want to bring it back over to you. Can we talk about Sunshine Punch and its taste? And where did the name come from? And the packaging is incredibly unique. It's really super cool.
That's a great segue. Obviously, we're going for nostalgia in a bottle. We like to say nostalgically fresh because we always want to be a throwback while providing something that's a little bit fresh on the tongue, a little inspiring as well. So we're hitting some things not exactly on the nose. Flavor profile, it is a cream, but it's drinkable and it's sessionable. The flavor profile is going to be closest to an orange creamsicle, dreamsicle, but not exactly. Some people will interpret it just a little bit different, orange Julius. But it is bright on the front end with the orangey. It's sessionable, and then the liquid takes you on a flavor journey that finishes with a nice cream that keeps you coming back, as we say. So that's what we were going after. It is a ready to serve. It's ready to roll straight out of the bottle with ice, but we also know that it's a multi-use expression. So it's ready to serve or it's ready to mix. And as much as we want to narrow the message, we know that our audience loves it both ways. So we've tried to just really play on the ease of use, if you will.
You talk about the packaging as well, because, you can't miss it if you're in a liquor store. I mean, if you can't miss it.
Yeah, it's again, it all comes back to that idea of nostalgia. And I don't know what it is, but every single one of us have a Pavlovian moment whenever somebody says the word creamsicle. It's like, for me, it's chasing the ice cream truck on my bike, whenever the glory days of my summertime. But the packaging, so I've got a very dear friend of mine, Jack Peterson, who runs Sandstrom Partners out in Oregon. And folks, if you're thinking about creating a spirits brand, Sandstrom Partners is the best best brand creation firm in the country, hands down. I was out visiting with Jack, and I took him a thermos of this liquid. And it was 9:00 in the morning Pacific time. We're at a breakfast meeting. And like a true friend, I said, here, try this. And like a true friend, Jack didn't question. He just turned it up. And Jack said, that's amazing. And he said that within 30 seconds. And I was like, there is no fucking way Sunshine Punch is an available trademark name that we could use. Lo and behold, we went back and did some patent research, and lo and behold, there was a large.
It was available.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the design of the bottle was around that nostalgia. The design of the bottle, what we were kind of going for was 1960s, 1970s California cool, and it just everything around it, just visual resonance, name resonance. It's all. It's one of those things where we designed a brand that feels like it's been there forever. It's an innovation, but both the name, the flavor profile, and the look all just feels like it's been there the whole time. If that
broad
makes
shoulders, yeah, and it's perceived heritage there, and broad shoulders for the brand. We wanted it to be a flagship. We did not want to get ahead of ourselves with too many extensions, but we wanted the brand to have the caliber to carry those extensions, flavor, sizes, etc., when the time's right. So that was always the intent.
Matt, can you talk about its mixability? Because a lot of times we think of cream, we might lean into like a Bailey's or more like that Irish cream, which I've had the pleasure of not only tasting Sunshine Punch, but also mixing with it. And I made a cocktail with it for the White House Historical Association.
Right.
That got millions of views, which is awesome. And so, as somebody who has a background in bartending, mixology, whatever you want to call it, I was absolutely floored on how mixable it is, because a lot of times creams you think just throw it in coffee or hot chocolate or something. But can you talk about its mixability capabilities?
That's great. That is a great point. I'm glad you had the firsthand experience, because that's what happened to us. We have a product we're pushing a simple message of ready to drink, which is the right strategy. But what happened was bartenders started coming back to us and they saw it as a tool. They saw it as an ingredient, not just a niche, if you will, or not just a convenient pour. It can be, but we started hearing back of, first one was, you guys know that a barista is always trying to tease out hints of orange in their coffee creations and the roast and things like that. And he said, so you guys are going to play great with coffee. And, oh, really? So now we're starting to play around brunch. And we realize that simple +1 pairing with cold brew coffee is outstanding. Obviously, the play on boat drinks, the fun in the sun, the frozen, the tropical, that is the no-brainer. That box is checked. We play so well. In fact, some of our big competition wins were because we were doing our sunburn, which is a take on a tropical painkiller of sorts. So that was a really easy go-to, but we did have to start, and I'm going to talk around this a little bit, but we had to start just thinking about how do we bucket all this stuff? Because it's coming at us left and right. And, one of them I'd say is just naturally over ice. Cool. The other one is simple pairings. So if I'm a consumer, what can I do with it? And what I've been doing recently is partly sunny. And that's as simple as sunshine punch over ice with a splash of seltzer and a splash of orange. Stir it slightly. And the consumers absolutely love it, and they love the ease of use. The other one, obviously, we've touched on cocktails, which you constructed as well for the other podcast. But then the bartenders typically bring those back to us. And then I'm going to jump forward. The other area that we saw that really just started to almost take on a life of its own was the natural pairings with other brands. And Brian, why don't you step on that one for a minute?
It's baristas. I mean, mixologists and bartenders are so creative. It never ceases to amaze us the things that they come up with. And I think that two of the most surprising pairings are for us are both shot pairings. And so our friends at Shanky's Whip came up with this. You wouldn't think Shanky's Whip, or you wouldn't really think that combination, but it's really 50-50 Sunshine and Shanky's. And then going back to the coffee thing, that coffee thing keeps popping up. And somebody, I think it was a bartender down in Tallahassee at a college bar in Tallahassee, whenever Patron XO Cafe came back, they brought that back. They started pairing this up and it took off. And it's literally Patron XO Cafe, Sunshine Punch, chilled over ice shot. And that thing has started popping up in a few markets outside of Florida, and we've been actively pushing it in North Carolina, and that's got some real potential because it's just two things. It's two things that you just don't think of pairing together, but whenever you put them together, it just pops.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I'm super familiar with that Patron. The deep richness of the coffee flavors that come out of. Oh my God, I can't wait to try it. That is really exciting, and the fact that it's only 2 ingredients. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's it.
That's literally it.
That is it. And what we're seeing, and we've experienced it at South Beach Food and Wine, New York Wine and Food Festival, all of these things that we're seeing, we have a lot of fun and do some experimenting around while we're sampling and serving. And wow, there's always a new one that strikes people. Yeah. And it's just amazing how well it plays with Tequila Blanco, how well it plays with the Cafe Patron XO, how well it plays with a little bit of a whiskey topper and let that settle into the ice. It really is very special. Now, on our side, we have to be focused because we can do this all day long. We get excited and let's talk about what's next and next. But to the consumer, we're really starting to break down the brand as brunch, the beach, or a shot.
Yep.
And so that is really what we want to say.
Matt, let's keep it with you. Can you tell me what's next for Sunshine Punch, where can folks find it? What are your social media handles? And really, what's next?
What's next is a little bit of what Brian alluded to earlier, which is we got out of the gates hot. We've expanded pretty broadly. That was part of a strategy to be retail chain ready, if you will. So we wanted a broad footprint, but now what we're doing is we've got more and more retail partners that are coming on board, especially for spring 25. You're going to see us in some big name chains in Florida, in California and beyond. And so we're going to make sure that we're developing our business through those chain partners, but then we're also going to go deep in a few battleground states as well. Home state, North Carolina, the Southeast, and a few others that we're going to make sure that we're really developing, creating good energy with as well. So a lot of that message, brunch, the beach, and a shot will also coincide with our on-premise strategy of where we want to have fun and make energy with our cocktails and with our activations.
And if we could tease something that's kind of breaking news on the product line extension, we've been getting asked by trade and by consumers for ever since we launched to, you guys got to come out with the trial size. You got to come out with the trial size. And we've been laser focused on one SKU, and that's the 750. But I think we're excited to kind of tip the hat that we have designed and are working on production of a 100 ml. And it is staying on brand. If the best thing I could relate it to is if you ever go to the grocery store and you see those little green plastic squeezy limes, it's going to be an orange shape, sort of like that. It's staying completely on brand, but that's a good way to not only get trial size out there, but we're going to package it up in a way so that you can get a 3-pack of that and just throw it in the cooler, right? And so we wanted to do it right. We didn't want to just come out with another airplane bottle. We wanted to do it the Sunshine Punch way. So we're really excited about getting that in market as well.
Sounds like it should be on every single airplane coming in and out of Florida, or anywhere sunny around the world. Don't you think so? Doesn't that just bring a smile to the passenger's face, like to get that little orange bottle? I think that's super cool. It's so Instagrammable, and with social media being really where it's at, right? You do want to make sure that your product stands out aesthetically, and so I think you're definitely winning for sure. For those of you, I know that we are audio only here at Served Up, but you need to go check out their websites and their social handles to really check out this bottle and what you all are doing. Matt, do you want to share those?
Yeah, absolutely. So sunshinepunch.me is the website, and at Sunshine Punch Official is the IG. So check us out for sure.
Well, on behalf of the Served Up team, I want to thank you both for being on Served Up, giving the story of Sunshine Punch, but also of your friendship. And I know you both are working so hard to bring something so special to the markets across the board. And that's not an easy thing to do. So with that, I have tremendous respect for you all. I've tasted it, folks, listeners. It's delicious. Let's just be real. It's really, really good. But on behalf of our family here, our team here, I just want to wish you both just some great health and a lot of peace. Cheers to you and to Sunshine Punch.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bridget.
Thank you all.
Thanks for listening. Served Up is brought to you by Southern Glazer's Wine and Spirits. Produced by Zunu.online. Music by We Killed the Lion can be found on Spotify. Make sure to subscribe to be notified of our future Served Up episodes. Cheers.